Have you ever had a gut knowing, a creative spark, and you close your eyes and you go forward and you follow that vision, not knowing if it's a distraction or if it's divine? My husband and I did that. I'm 62, he's 72. We left Nashville after 25 years, totally upset the family dynamic. We were moving from a 5,000 square foot house down to a 900 square foot condo. I didn't know how we would get along in this little 900 square foot space. I didn't know what of our old life we would have to integrate into this new life. What would fit, what wouldn't? What changes would we be asked to make that we couldn't anticipate? And more so, was this move all a waste of time? A creative farce? The situation that we were feeling in Nashville might just as well occur where we moved to in Chicago. Was this a distraction or was it divine? That is a line I toe on a daily basis, if not hourly. Okay, by the minute. I am an easily distractible person. I am also a very spiritual person in that, since I was a little girl, I was always listening to my guides. Sometimes I listened, sometimes I didn't. Hence this line I toe. Is it a distraction or is it divine? I've been fooled many times. In the wee hours of the morning of May 19th, my husband took our dog Buddy and got into an SUV that we had leased, packed full of the stuff that we would need up in Chicago for the condo. My daughter and I popped in my Audi with the 4 cats. One of which, we know from the last video, had a few problems. So this 7.5-hour journey turned into an 11-hour journey. Next morning, I roll out of the air mattress, which has now deflated a good bit by that time. It had a hole in it. We didn't know. And I go into my daughter, and we decide we're going to go get coffee. We're going to walk down to the local coffee shop because that's part of the lure of Chicago, is that there are these little towns. We had dreamed of this. This is what we had wanted. And this was only our second time in the town that we ended up moving to, right? We'd only been here once. In the coffee shop, we're talking about the wonderful transformations that we felt and what we're leaving behind. My daughter had just graduated had just graduated college. She'd just broken up with her boyfriend in January, and it was really hard. There was a lot of love shared between them. And she was moving into this new house that we had created for her in Nashville that we had there, that my mom had once lived in, but had moved in with her other family. And so she was excited to go back to that. Doors were opening for her. Doors were opening for us as well. We get back home and the movers have arrived at the condo. And they're bringing in some boxes and some furniture that we had there that we were going to set up for my mom for when she moves up. And one of the things that they brought in was that unfinished cabinet that I had started in Nashville, like a week before we moved. It was a distraction, totally admit it, in scraping all this paint off of it. And I thought I was going to finish it before we moved, but I didn't. But it was an exercise in frustration as I was, and you can see in the past videos, we were dealing with a lot of issues. And I just needed to put my hands on something and scrape away the layers of what I was trying to see in what was going on in myself. These changes, I was trying to get some perspective. I was still sputtering a lot in my head, so perspective came a while later. The rest of the week, my daughter and I are hanging out and going around, and we're looking at the house. This is the first time we got to see this house that we're in now, and we're realizing, through measurements and stuff like that, the stuff that we needed. Because when they packed up the moving vans in Nashville, we didn't know we were getting this house. So we kept some things that I knew weren't going to work. So we're kind of taking inventory of that and getting the condo set up for my mom, buying some tables and things like that for her. But my daughter leaves. And, we had explored the area. Chicago's so different than Nashville, and the walkable towns and the groceries. People up here are serious about their pizza, their soda, and their chips. And they're all different brands and stuff like that, And that's what's so cool about America. You can go to all these different pockets, and there are just such wonderful differences in it, right? But when she left, I just felt, could we be happy here? because she wasn't here. And I'm really close with my kids. So there was some serious boo-hooing when she drove back down to Nashville. Was all of this a distraction? Because everything's so new and you're uncomfortable because you don't know the streets yet. And sidebar, this Costco up here, or the Costco's in Chicago, don't carry Oatly milk like they do in Nashville, and I missed that. So we're having to adjust to the grocery stores and all that stuff and how to get to places. And I wanted to know the streets. My husband's fine with using a GPS. He can't now, even a year later, almost a year later, get to the grocery store without a GPS thing on. And he's a Marine, which is totally funny to me. I love that man. So was this an unnecessary folly? Would there be a new me, or would I keep tripping over the old habits, the old behaviors, the old escapist behaviors? I felt so much of this experience was divine in selling the homes and, redecorating my daughter's house and finding the condo and finding this house. But there was so much chaos. Did I miss the divine trying to get through to me that, hey, this isn't what's meant for you. You really need to stay in Nashville and be close with your girls and, whatever. Did I miss that? We all have themes in our charts. One of my themes is giving myself away, not in a good way. It's falling to distractions because I'm being asked to stand up for what I believe in and for who I am, how I am wired. That doesn't mean being stubborn about my faults. I have many. Virgo influence, long list. But it means I tend to give things away because I feel like I'm doing it for the divine, right? So like in my mom's case, I'll explain things away. And I would do that with my kids. I would say, well, she's this and this, and, you just got to understand, blah, blah, blah. And it's like this time during this move, it was like, okay, she is how they view her. That's their truth. I don't need to interrupt or intervene. So this excusing others has been to my detriment in many times. And I excuse myself. Oh, they need me more. My husband needs me to get this stuff done so he doesn't feel stress. He had been going through a lot of stress at 72 about his body changing. He couldn't do as much as he used to. He doesn't work at the same speed that I do. He will willingly tell you I run circles around him. That's okay. My energy level's different. He is the solid rock that I lean on. Oh, so many times, right? But I give myself away. And motherhood even helped exacerbate that particular issue. Because as a mother, you don't get to shower every day. My husband, when we were in the condo, 7 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m., he's over there, he's taking calls, he's very focused. He is very responsible to himself and to his chart and what he is doing and to his work. He is very routine, eats the same cereal every day in the same order. X amount of protein powder, X amount of banana. He's just very structured in that way. I am not wired that way. And so I learn a lot from him. And I'm watching him from my vantage point. So I'm working at the kitchen bar in the condo. And the unfinished cabinet, the armoire, is behind me. And I'm focusing on, this is after my daughter leaves, okay, getting the house in order, making sure the move is set, that, the correct move date. We got the painters set up, that I know which rooms I'm going to paint, what colors I'm going to paint. I'm getting all that planned out. And I'm finding doctors, and I'm finding dentists, and I'm finding a vet. All those different things that you have to do. And he is over there working. And I'm like, that just bothers me. Why am I distracting my time? He's my mirror. The problem is within me. It's not within him being focused and responsible to himself. The problem is me not being responsible to myself and my goals and my dreams in life. Doing the YouTube stuff that I know I need to do from my spirit guides. This is not so I have a number of followers. This is for a whole different purpose of me being comfortable talking to a camera. And oddly enough, in that little one-bedroom condo where I thought, oh, I'll get a ton of YouTube content done, I wasn't doing it. I didn't feel comfortable talking to a camera in front of my husband, revealing how I think. And this is why I'm doing YouTube, because I don't talk to people about how I think and how I perceive the world. I'm just a very private person. I write it down. But they're like, no, you need to get in front of a camera and talk about it. And then you can start doing your novel series again. Because I've written that 3 times. I got lots of ideas. I'm changing the voices and all that stuff. But I can't do that until I do this. The doors won't open. The creative dialogue that I have with all my characters, it won't open until I get what I need to get out of this experience. Distraction or divine? Is doing YouTube a distraction or is it divine? Don't know. We'll find out. My husband and I were developing beautiful new routines of having dinner together. We didn't get to do that because he traveled all the time. And now we got to have dinner together. We were taking our dog for walks along the river. We were laughing, having a great time, just being with each other. And that's the beauty of families, In astrology, when you look at families, whether they are blood families or just families that come together, you get all these souls with these different charts, and you can see similarities. You can see how they're either going to support each other or whether all these souls will go to different corners, kind of like in my own family with my dad and my brothers and my mom. We all kind of went to our separate corners and reflected off each other to become ourselves, to get triggered to become ourselves. Well, in my little family of 4, we were closer. There was a lot of flow there. And my husband and I were back in the flow together. And my daughter in Nashville, she had met someone in Chicago who she visited while we were up here the first time when she drove up with us. And they had established a relationship, and they were starting to see each other when she would drive up again because she was driving up often to see us. And my other daughter in Nashville was having a fine time being in the house alone, getting ready to move up here, ending her job down there, ready to come up here. And there's just this closeness with the 4 of us and how we lean on each other and support each other. But we can also learn a lot from observing each other, as we do. What you are critical of in others is often something you need to reflect on. And watching my husband work away so focused in that corner office, it wasn't even a corner office, it was just a little nook. I heard everything he did. Watching him do that, I got pissed. And I'm like, I'm going to do this YouTube thing, damn it. And so I get the red cabinet, and I'm taking the doors off, and I'm scrubbing the paint out of little crevices. Stuff is spewing everywhere, and my husband's like a total neat freak, right? He's got the vacuum out there as soon as I'm done. The only thing that he'll be distracted for is cleaning, which is great. I'm organized, he cleans. It's a beautiful combination. But I'm scraping the stuff out the cabinet, and I'm thinking about all that has happened, and I'm trying to piece together what was the point. The old life of who I was wasn't fitting into this space. The way that I thought, the distractions that I would follow, the way that I would bicker in my head, this new space that we were in was saying, enough of that bickering, you need to change. You need to change in being comfortable in talking to the camera and in doing this stuff in front of your husband. You need to change in how you're approaching YouTube. You need to get some new inspiration on how you're going to do this and be less structured the way that the other people are teaching it. You need to do you, Melissa, is what I was hearing. But I was afraid to do that. Leos are sensitive to criticism. My mom is a person who mistakes sometimes criticism for wisdom. I was realizing how I was giving myself away again. I was the one planning the whole house thing. My husband wasn't really doing a whole lot in that. I was the one doing the doctors and all that stuff. He just relied on me to do that stuff. I had my own career to focus on. He didn't ask me to do that, but I wasn't respecting what I have been asked to do in my life. Instead, I was doing for others. And I didn't need to do that. They don't need me to do that. But I needed that excuse because I was avoiding my own path, because I didn't trust myself to achieve it. I didn't have confidence in myself. I doubt myself. And I let that doubt paralyze me. I have to do it while I'm uncomfortable. I have to do it while I'm afraid. I have to do it without a clear plan going forward. I have to do it by just sitting my ass down in front of this camera and talking from the heart and not from a script. That took a long time to do. But in the end, through finishing that cabinet, that red cabinet that I will show you now through pictures of the condo that we did up for my mom. Through doing that red cabinet, I got a finalization. I mean, I knew that I was supposed to do the YouTube thing and I would do it in a new way. But my guides have kind of shut down the novel conduit because I need to do the YouTube thing. I'm going to learn a whole lot of things from this. I don't know what we're going to learn, but we're going to learn. So they shut down the conduit for channeling the novel. But I started getting really exciting ideas about what I'm going to do with the novel. And rewriting it this time will be from my heart versus from my head. You know, that self-reliance I talked about in the last video, following what everyone else has done and learning it myself, interpreting it my way, and never really listening to the heart. Leo rules the heart. It is that conduit from the spiritual world into the physical world. We all have Leo in our chart somewhere. And we all get transits from Leonine planets in our chart throughout our life. So we're all going to feel that fire to follow what's in our heart, to let that spark lead. Through editing myself on all these videos, I hear myself talk about my mom and the issues as a victim. And I share those with you, understanding that I have the same thing. And so when I listen to those videos, it's like, well, Melissa, you got some victim stuff going on too. My mom's placement that toys with a victim theme in her chart has to do with Saturn and Pisces and kind of not wanting to take accountability, just letting life lead her where it goes. And once in a while, she'll make a firm statement to where she doesn't just ride the wave of life because she's afraid that she can't achieve what she wants, to be the nurse that she wanted to be. I have a similar victim kind of thing, but it works differently. Jupiter in Pisces is, are you giving your power away because it's divine, or are you giving your power away because you're afraid that you won't be able to meet your goals? That's what I was learning. You know, Pluto was a boot camp for my family of 4 and for my mom. All of us were dealing with our own Plutonian stuff. My husband and his age, at 72, he needed a new start. Me at 62, I needed a fresh start in being responsible for myself, accountable to myself, and not falling to distraction and labeling it to the divine. My daughter, at 22, she needed to clean out this vision of who she thought she was going to be as a little girl. She wasn't going to be an equestrian. No, she was going to be a scientist, and she was going to study neuroscience. And she would be doing work in labs in one of the most prestigious universities. That was her new dream. And she was realizing she was going to achieve it. The dream of being together with this other young man, well, that wasn't panning out. She was creating new dreams with this other man. The dream of having an apartment in Nashville with her roommates, well, that wasn't going to happen. She was going to have her own little 3-bedroom house that we had designed. And she was going to have space, quiet, to think through what she wanted her next steps to be. Pluto was a boot camp for all of us, and we're still going through Pluto boot camp. You might be going through it as well. Wherever transiting Pluto in Aquarius is, it's asking you to weigh the differences between, is this what you really want? Is this a corporation where you are of equal value? Or is this a cult? Are you being led by false beliefs? What in between those two things is your truth? Moving up here, that whole process forced me to see how I was giving myself away, validating myself through others' opinions of me and feedback of me of, oh my God, look at all she's doing, or whatever. I was using that validation to avoid the responsibility to myself, the confidence in myself to do this, to talk to a camera, from the heart, not from a script. I didn't trust myself to achieve my own goals. I suspect others feel like this too. Maybe you do. You know, where do you seek validation so you don't have to take accountability for yourself? We are given our charts for a reason. In the center of the wheel, we are the choice maker. It's free will. And doing the things that our chart challenges us to do sometimes requires divine intervention. I think the move up here was divine intervention. As I witness the unfolding of me, I mean, I still have frustrations and stuff like that. I still avoid things. I still get, whatever. I'm tripping over old habits. But I'm here to say, if you get that creative spark, if you get that gut feeling, I'm all for jumping in blindly and figuring out along the way, was it a distraction or is it divine? Because I don't think you're moved so far down the line, like selling the house and finding a new house and all that stuff. I don't think you're moved that far down the line without knowing that there's something else at play here. And yes, there was a lot of chaos. But that chaos wasn't long-lived in not finding a house or the stuff with my mom. That stuff with my mom needed to happen. I needed to cleanse that, and I think she needed to cleanse that too. And my 22-year-old daughter, she needed to get on a different playing field with my mom. I think my daughter needed to speak up for herself, and she gained so much from it, and she did it respectfully. So speak up for yourself. Trust yourself that you can do the difficult things that you need to do. See you next time.